Hello, dear students of class 9. I am here today with a lesson titled Weathering the Storm in Ersama by Harsh Mandar. Now, children, what do you think a storm is? Storm is a violent meteorological phenomenon in which there is heavy rain and wind due to moisture in the air. Hail and lightning are also common in storms. More rarely, tornadoes can occur in storms. This prose has been written by Harsh Mandar, who was born on 17th of April 1955. He is an Indian author, columnist, researcher, teacher and social activist who works with survivors of mass violence and hunger as well as homeless people and street children. This is based on a true story of the adventures of a teenager, Prashant, who was marooned on the roof of a house for 2 nights following the dreadful storm that hit Orissa, now Odisha, on 27 October 1999. The storm had killed thousands of people and devastated hundreds of villages. Prashant showed extraordinary courage at the face of the great natural calamity. He saved his own life and came in the forefront to lead the disaster management in his village. On 27 October 1999, Prashant, a young boy of 19, went to meet his friend in Ersama, a small town in coastal Odisha. Ersama was some 18 kilometers away from his village. In the evening, the weather suddenly changed and soon there occurred super cyclone. The wind velocity was 350 kilometers per hour, and Prashant had never seen such a menacing storm. This storm was followed by heavy and incessant rain, which washed away not just houses but people too. His friend's house was made of bricks, and since water got into his house, Prashant, along with his friend and his family, took refuge on the roof. They were marooned on the roof for 2 nights in the same position. They froze in the cold and continuous rain. In the morning, they witnessed the destruction caused by the cyclone. They were surrounded by water everywhere. Prashant could see in the grey light of the early morning the destruction caused by super cyclone. Bloated animal carcasses and human corpses floated in every direction. Even huge trees had fallen here and there, and almost all the other houses had been washed away. This destruction continued for the next 30 hours. Like I have already mentioned earlier, their house was filled with water and they could not possibly go inside to fetch food. 2 coconut trees had fallen on the roof of the house, which had damaged the roof and the wall of the house. However, this proved to be a blessing in disguise as they satisfied their hunger by eating the coconuts. This saved them from dying of starvation. Prashant was worried about his family, but he was helpless. However, he decided to go back to his own village. His friend's family insisted on him staying back, but he was reluctant to go as he was worried for the safety of his family. When the rain stopped after 2 days, Prashant set out for his village, and with the help of a long stick, he started the 18-kilometer long journey back home. As they waded through the waters, they got to see horrible scenes. They had to push dead bodies of humans and animals which were being swept around with the current of the water. There were hardly any houses left in the villages that they passed. Prashant wept, thinking that no one in his family would have survived. Finally, Prashant reached his village Kalikuda, and on seeing the remains of his house, he became numb. Their belongings were scattered in the water, and some things hung on the branches of the trees. His heart sank as he found his family to be nowhere. Prashant went to the Red Cross shelter and fortunately found his family members alive. He then came to know that 86 lives were lost in the village and that 96 houses had been washed away. It was then that he decided to help his own family as well as others, for he realized that he had to get over his emotions and take charge of the situation. The villagers had been at the shelter for the last 4 days. They had been surviving on raw coconut, which were now proving to be insufficient for such a large number of people. He decided to lead the crowd of distraught villagers. He first did so by forming a group of elders and youths who then pressurized the local merchant to give them the stock of rice and grains to feed the people. The group swam through the floods to get those bags from the godown. The rice was getting rotten, but everyone was willing to eat it as they starved. The branches of broken trees were used to kindle a fire which had slow fire but manageable enough to cook rice. This group then cleaned the shelter, removed garbage, cleaned toilet waste, and cleared the dead bodies. They even took care of the injured. On the 5th day, a military helicopter flew over the shelter and dropped food packages, but they did not come back again, and food started getting scarce. Hence, the youths of the group gathered empty utensils which were placed on the stomach of children who were made to lie on the sand. This was done to indicate to the passing helicopters that they needed more food. The helicopters got the message and returned back with food and other necessities for the crowd at the shelter. His rehabilitation work also went on ceaselessly. Prashant and his group now became social workers and saviors. They brought orphaned children and made a polythene sheet shelter for them. He mobilized men and women to take care of them with food and other materials. He then persuaded women to start working in the Food for Work program started by an NGO, and for the children, he organized sports events. Later, orphans were resettled in foster families made of childless widows. Prashant's selfless service for mankind is praiseworthy, as he overcame his grief and learned to smile in the face of adversity. So the story leaves the message that we should withstand every hard situation and be brave and courageous. And with this, I wish you all a safe stay at home. Take care and see you soon with the next topic.